welcome back. So we are actually just kind of doing this as a vlog style video today. Um, I'm still working on my major project, which is this wedding gift here. And I'm doing the brocade, which is really exciting. So I'll just kind of share some tips whenever I'm doing a multi-shuttle project or when I'm using pickup sticks on something like this of things I like to do to make sure they come out balanced. And it is part of following the 4 rules for making a perfect weave. And we did our sampling, we reworked, this is the reworking everything to where we want it. So we'd figured out what we didn't like about the sample and what we were going to change. And this is the final project, so we're changing it. In order to make sure I have things centered, I went ahead and measured the project itself and then placed this one dead in the center. And because even though I have a mark on the loom, sometimes I accidentally get the reed a little off to the side, which shifts the pattern a little bit. So I always double check, and it was about 3 over. So I needed to make sure to center my project over here because this is actually the working center. And then right here are the end points, which are equal distance apart in order so I know where not to come past for these lines over here to create this box shape. And when I decided to put in this brocade, I also centered it based on this center. So right now I'm using the pickup stick to make bricks, which is actually pretty fun. So the way we're going about that is alternating which threads we are picking up and which ones we are leaving down in order to create a big brick pattern. I'm actually even doing some variation. Sometimes I'm doing the smaller bricks, which are picking 2 threads up, skipping over 6, picking up, passing over 6, pick up 2, pass over 6. And then right here, I'm actually doing the larger bricks, which is where I'm picking up 2 groups of threads, which is technically 4, but 2 groups of threads, and passing over 8. And I'm doing this because a lot of times, especially in older items where bricks were handmade, you see in older buildings and stuff that the bricks are not always exactly the same size. So you'll see sections where it's smaller and sections where it's bigger. And I thought it might look a little bit more realistic if I did something like that. I'll pull out this stick. And this is actually something that's often forgotten about shuttle sticks, or pickup sticks, is that they allow you to change a pattern, not just make a motif, but make something separate. So people make, right now I'm making a watchtower, but you can make cats, dogs, people, basically anything you want. And you can just do it for a small part of the project, and you don't have to stick with that the entire pattern. You don't have to commit to using the pickup stick all throughout. Even with our last, see, that's why it's good to have this, because sometimes you catch yourself wanting to go back to old habits of flinging the shuttle boat across, and you don't. Pull that back. But pickup sticks are allowed to be used, however. So even like when you looked at how we did our flower pickup stick pattern, that's something if we only wanted to do the edges of a project with the flowers, we could have. We could literally have just, it's not so long. Shit, I was like, that doesn't look right. We could have literally just taken it and just put it along the edges, and we would have had these beautiful flowers on just part of the project, which would have looked lovely. And the rest could have been very plain weave. And it would have been a beautiful project, or even a twill, and that would have still been a very fun project. So the biggest thing we always want for our shuttle boats is we want them to go the same way. So I'm actually locking in the pattern with my ground weft. This is something you'll need to do in any type of overshot pattern or anything where you're doing a separate brocade or even just an inlay. You're going to need your ground weft, which is going to be your main one. In this case, it's the green. I'm going to put this up here. Now, all my shuttle boats are going to go back this way. So once these ones go this way, just like my ground weft, I will shoot my ground weft that way, and then all my shuttle boats will go again to the left. So now we're all going to the right, and then they will all go to the left, and they will all go to the right. It's very important to make sure your shuttle boats stay in order so that they don't get tangled, because if I have them going opposite ways as each other, they're not going to catch each other right. They're not going to hold the threads squarely like they need to. And they are also going to be more likely to catch. Because see, if I had this shuttle boat ending here and this shuttle boat ending here on this side, whenever I picked up, I could catch the thread and then it would pull across and I'd have to untangle it. And it's annoying. That's really not the type of battle we want to be having with our shuttle boats. So I actually do have a few projects planned in the works that I just haven't gotten to start yet. So sometimes projects just take me a little longer than I anticipated. But I am currently looking at either a spot Bronson project or a pinwheel project. And if I do the spot Bronson, it's a variation on it. So it actually comes up with a completely different look, which I'm excited about. So another thing to kind of look at is when you're doing a project like this, another reason we need this round weft right here that we have is actually because whenever I am passing through, so say we're doing this brocade. So you wanted to do, say you wanted to do cats. There's actually some great videos of people doing that specific pattern. That's kind of why I chose it. They're very popular to do. I don't know. I'm not a cat person. But they're popular. And here we go. When you look at them, you're going to need this ground supporting weft because, as you can see with this, every time I do passes, the floats are extremely large and I need to lock them in place. And if you're doing any type of pattern, the floats are going to be varying and large. And if you don't, it'll all get so squished together, there'll actually be no definition. So it won't look like a cat. It will literally just look like a weird shaped pile. And this ground weft is what gives it its body and definition so that it actually becomes what you're hoping. And I'm going to pass through. And all the boats will start to go to the left again. But another big project that I'm planning is weaving a dress that will be a minimum sew dress. Hopefully I'll just have to sew the sides. We'll see how that goes. Let me show you this at a different angle.
So sometimes you may wonder, why can't I just build up the brocade by itself or the motif on one side or the other and then just catch up with the other parts? And the reason why is because you'll have buildup, you won't be able to beat evenly, and
it would also build up this green weft here, which is our ground weft up on the sides, and then we would have a huge gap in the pattern, which isn't what we want. So that's kind of the reason why we have to do this at the same time. Even though it takes longer, Otherwise, our result would be quite hideous and not really worth doing. So sometimes it's worth it to slow down, do things the right way. Oops. Dip an extra thread. There you go. Pass through. So, um, and I am using floating selvages on this project because anytime you do any type of twill or overshot, it's just a good idea because their threads are not going to end in the same spot every time. So if you want your threads to be even and your sides to be even, you need to have that floating weft in order to create that endpoint where you need it. So you'll kind of notice I'm putting this big shuttle boat up on top. And the reason for that is quite simple. It's heavy, so if I keep leaving it here, it's going to pull my threads uneven. Whereas these are much lighter, and I can kind of set them partway on the metal, so it's not really gonna pull on my threads as much. It's not gonna cause a huge issue. Whatever managing your shuttle boats, it's good to either have them off of the project or supported by something. Like these are supported by the metal under here, so they're not actually weighing down the project, or up on something up here, or on some type of table to the side. Since I'm like right against the wall here, I obviously can't have a table on that side. So if you have, depending on your working space, what works best for you. These are small shuttles. I can set them on the metal so they're not putting their weight fully on the work, which is something I don't want. So we're going to keep doing this for a bit longer. So as part of this pattern, what we're doing is we started out wide space, we've brought it in, and we're going to go up for a few more inches, and then we're going to taper it out again to the same width as the bottom. And then we will add our watchtower points to make it look like a traditional watchtower. We don't want to pull too tight in on the edges because that will cause gaps. And we also don't want it too loose because that will cause some bubbling. So as you see over there, it bubbled a little bit, so I gave it a little extra pull to firm it up. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. And don't forget, like, subscribe, share with your friends.